All right, guys, so today's video is showing you how to disassemble the Dyson cleaner head that fits most of the current model cordless vacuum cleaners. So this one actually goes to the SV27 cordless vacuum cleaner. And so this is one of the cleaning heads that's commonly on those models. So if your nozzle looks like this and you want to get it looking like this, then follow along and I'll show you how to do it and get some professional results. Here's some tools that you're going to need. It's actually pretty basic. So you're going to need a Torx T8 screwdriver and then just a basic flathead screwdriver or just a coin, and just that purpose, just to take this brush roll out. So a coin can work as well. And then as far as cleaning utensils, I use basic utensils like this, like a small little paintbrush. You can get these at Harbor Freight. And then these little stiff bristle toothbrushes. It gives me a little bit more stiff agitation that this brush, where this one's a little softer. So sometimes it's a little bit more aggressive. And then I just use Dawn dish soap to clean these parts, and they always turn out great. So, all right, so follow along and I'll show you how to take this apart and put it all back together for the purpose of cleaning and servicing it to make it look like new. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little screwdriver, and we are going to find these little 4 clips right here, all these spots here, and we're going to stick our screwdriver in and just slightly pry like that, and then it's going to release those clips, and this piece is going to pop out of place. All right, so just like that. And then we can actually slide this squeegee out. So I like to do that just to clean underneath this area really good. Okay, so set that aside. Now what that does is it reveals 2 screws here that are under there, so now we have access to all of our screws in order to take this nozzle apart. But before that, let's take off the brush roll, and we're just going to take that flat screwdriver and just give it a good twist. You can also use a coin and give it a good twist, and we can take that out. Now, if your bristles are worn down really good like this, you might think about just replacing the brush roll. So you can buy those online. I'll find a link to one and include it. But keep in mind here that this does have a bearing in it. The bearing is fairly protected from hair. So when you take this off, you may have some hair around here, so you can clean that hair out. But we don't want to submerge this brush roll. If you do wash it, I would wash the exterior. You can get it wet, and then just make sure this bearing stays fairly dry. All right, so let's go ahead and take all of our screws out. So we've got 3 screws here in the front, 3 there. We've got 4 across here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got 1 tiny one right down there. Okay, so we'll take that out, and then I'm going to grab my trusty pneumatic screwdriver and take the rest of these out because it saves me some time. All right, so once we've got these screws out, we can go ahead and flip it over here, and then this cover piece is going to just lift up. So I'm just grabbing kind of under here, and I'm pulling, and you're going to kind of feel it pop a little bit and pop out of place. So be careful not to flex it too much like this, because you can potentially crack right up here. All right, so that can be cleaned. Now, if you wanted to just do the clear nozzle, the one thing that's kind of nice about this newer design nozzle compared to some of the older designs is you can just take this clear nozzle up. Once you get this off, you can just lift this up, get this wire out of the way here, and you can just clean this clear nozzle. It's a little stuck, so it should just lift right up. So what you could do is, if you wanted to sort of cut corners, then you could just get away with leaving this part here as it is, and just cleaning this, putting it back on, and then putting it back together, and keep following those steps. That will save you a little bit of time, especially if your cleaner head really isn't, if this clear section really isn't that dirty. If this section's not dirty, then you may not have to go this far. But since I'm a professional, people bring their stuff to me and they expect professional results. So I go as far as I can within reason. So what I don't do is take apart the neck assembly. So I clean in in the intake and out in the intake tube. I make sure to stick a bottle brush down in there, make sure it's clean, and then I blow this off really good and wipe it down. But there's not enough benefit to taking this apart because there's just not that much dirt buildup inside of these parts to be worth taking apart to clean. All right, so if you're wanting to go all the way and get full professional results, then continue to follow along here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get those 2 screws out. Next, we're going to do is we're going to lift this neck out of the way, and it just should just lift and pop out of place. And then we can lift our wire out of the way here, and then this motor should lift straight up. I'm going to give it a little bit of convincing, and I think that the water has probably caused it to be a little stuck, so we're going to pry it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this motor should just lift right out of place. Now I like to keep it, I like to lay this down like this. I don't, make sure that you're not twisting this or twisting the motor and getting the wires twisted up. So the wires are going to be in this position, and you want to try to keep them in that position if you can. And you can, now this is your motor, so you do not get this wet, you know, do not submerge this. What I do is I make sure this little area here is cleaned out, so there's a little bit of hair in there. So you can take a air compressor and you can blow this out really good. And then if necessary, you can, you know, get some tweezers or a little knife and cut the hair out and pull it out. So that's really the only thing that you need to do to this, in addition to cleaning out this intake tube. All right, so we can set that aside. And so now we have all our parts ready for cleaning. And so we're going to give them a good cleaning, and then I'll come back and show you how to put it all back together. Now, real quick, if this video is going to save you some money, and if it's valuable to you and you want to say thank you in the form of a tip, I will leave my Venmo in the description for anybody that would like to do that. So, all right, so now we've got our parts all cleaned. I've got them laid out here, and now comes the hard part, which is putting it all back together so that everything is in the proper place and it looks like it's never been taken apart. So that's the goal here. Putting it back together does require just some really good attention to detail. So pay attention closely to the details, and you should be able to put this together just fine. So to start, what we're going to do is I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. We're going to start with the this base here and the neck and motor assembly. So if you have taken this out, and you know, just kind of pay attention to this piece right here, that it's facing the right direction. You know, these do a pretty good job of staying, you know, I just don't try to twist this around when I'm cleaning it. I don't, you know, so just make sure you haven't twisted it around, and you should be good to put it back in place here. Just pay attention to the wires routing here on the side. You want to make sure that you get those in place as you're setting it down here. So we're going to pay attention to that as we're dropping this in place. Okay, so what we're looking for is this notch located here, as well as this part here. And these are going to drop in place, and you can see where they're going to be dropping. So they're going to be inserting into here, and also right into here, and then the wires are going to route right through here. So that's what we're trying to do, and you want to make sure these wires kind of stay in place as you're lowering it in place. It's not too hard, but that's what you're looking for. So I get one side in, and then I kind of pivot it up and then push it in just like that. Okay. Now I got this trick from a viewer for the next part, which I thought was a really good idea. So we'll go ahead and put our end cap back on the brush roll, and what we're going to do is we're going to install this brush roll, and pay attention to the flat side. This flat side is what goes down towards the floor. So we're going to install it and then lock it in place. And what this does is it actually locks, it keeps this motor assembly in the proper position for when you're putting the clear cover back on. Okay, so before we do that, we're going to insert the neck assembly, and what we want to see happen is the neck assembly drop in and click in place while the while this lip is going to be covered up by this section here. Okay, so it takes a little bit of effort. There is a little notch right here, so you want to get that put in first, and then you're almost going to pivot it in place, and then so it's not quite covered yet, so I'm going to just rotate it and until it gets covered up there. So you can see how that lip's now covered, and there's a nice even seam there. Okay, and then you can also tell because it's going to swivel pretty easily. Okay, this one I don't really need to add any sort of like lubrication to help that. So next what we're going to do is now we can take our clear cover, and hopefully you're able to, like I can, these gaskets do a pretty good job now of staying in place even during cleaning, and I just make sure they get good and dry, so I don't have to bother taking them out, and it saves me a step. And so we're going to lift the wire out of the way here, and then we're just going to lower this clear cover back on. Also, you're going to pay attention closely to this wire routing, making sure that the wire is tucked down in here, that it's not in the way of this screw post, because there's a screw that's going to go right through there. So pay attention to that, kind of hold that out of the way, and we're going to lower this down on just like that. Okay, and then next you can just push this wire in place and then feed these wires into the little notches there, just like that. Sometimes you can use a small screwdriver and just press them down in there so that they stay tight. All right, and then you can just double check the swiveling capability, and that's good to go. All right, now this part here is a little tricky because you have the same thing on the top. You have this little lip that you want to get underneath this neck area here. So it takes a little bit of flexing. These tools, or these parts usually flex a little bit, and then as I'm pulling this neck, I'm kind of adding a little bit of putting some tension back a little bit to give us some separation as I'm trying to get that lip inserted underneath there. So I'm flexing a little bit like that, and then getting it put in place. And that went in fairly easy. I've had them go in a lot harder, so it can kind of depend on the machine. All right, so now we can flip it over here, and we're ready to put our screws back in. And there's only one screw that's different, so that's pretty easy. There's the small short screw, and that one is going to go right down in here. Showing you in the camera, if you can see it, right down in there. So that's where that short tiny screw is going to go. So we're going to put that one in first, and the rest we're going to hand screw, and these are small screws, small going into plastic. So I don't use my air gun. If I use my air gun, I just partially put them in, and I don't tighten them down with the air gun. So if you're using a drill, then you just want to get them started, get them mostly in, and then finish them off with a hand screwdriver, just so you don't strip out the plastic or break the plastic posts or anything like that. So because these can break. Okay, and then the final step is we're going to slide this little squeegee back in place here, and then we can lock this piece in, and this is going to go in this direction. There's a little lip on the front that you're going to insert it like that, and then you're just going to push it in the back, and it will lock in place there. There you go. I had to shift it over just a little bit so that it popped, so this one popped in place, and you're going to see these you're going to see all of these little notches align right there. Okay, now for the final professional touch, I use denatured alcohol and just a cleaning rag, and that takes off paint scrapes. So that's what I like to do to make sure I've got this done looking professional. So just take some denatured alcohol, and then we're going to wipe off any of the paint scrapes, and it's going to be looking really good. Most of them are going to come off with the denatured alcohol. unless they're actual scuffs. And it's looking good. Okay, so I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.